Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. We'll be going about the sewing of this beautiful gown right here on the screen, which has two side pockets. It has a zipper in front, it has a bishop collar, and also this puff sleeve. This is something you definitely want to learn how to do. With that much being said, let's get started with today's tutorial. The drafting tutorial of this particular dress has been uploaded on the channel, and the link to this particular tutorial will be in the description box. So please kindly go on ahead to click on that link, and it will automatically direct you to this particular drafting part of the video. Then when you're done with that, you can come back and watch this sewing part of the video, which we'll be doing today in today's tutorial. And if you've already gone ahead to watch the drafting part, it's totally safe and okay to continue with this sewing part of the tutorial. So this is the very spot we stopped at the drafting part. So I've basically gone ahead to cut out on my lining piece, and of course I stated it earlier that my lining piece is 1.5 inches shorter than my actual fabric. So this is for the front part of my dress, and I also did the same thing. My lining piece is 1.5 inches shorter than in length. Okay, so the next thing is to separate the front part of my dress, because we'll be attaching a zip in front, and this zip will help us pull these two together. Then after doing that, now I'm slashing them. I also gone ahead to notch my zipper allowance and now separate this piece. Now the sewing part has commenced. This is the right side of my fabric facing the camera. I'm just going to be placing my lining on top of it, right side. So I'll ensure that my lining aligns at the base with my fabric. Then I'll just go on ahead to pin. After pinning, I'll stitch this down using just half of an inch. So by the time you do this, you notice there will be space at the top part. All I'm going to do is to drag my lining up, okay, and then go on ahead to stitch down the zipper part and also the sides using just quarter of an inch, and do the same thing for other parts of my dress. I've gone ahead to do this. You can see what I have. I already turned this to the right side from my armhole, and I ironed this out very well. This is for the back part, and this one now is the front part of my gown. So the next I'm going to be doing is to placing them right sides facing each other, and on the shoulder I'm simply going to be pinning them together right sides facing each other like this. Then I'll go on ahead to stitch this down. So I'm going to repeat the same process for the two shoulders, okay? So after that, this is what I have. I've joined the shoulder, and you can see that our gown is really coming together. The next I did is to fold the neckline. I just folded it into two. Now I'm pinning it because I want to measure out the neckline right here. So when I measured out the neckline here, I had 8.5 inches. So I'm just simply going to be drafting this out on my fabric. I want to be cutting out a collar. So I always take my neck measurements twice, okay? And remember that I folded it into two. So because of this, I brought this fabric right here, and I'm also going to fold it into two to cut out for my neckline. So here we go. I folded my fabric into two. This piece I want to use to cut out the collar, right? So I'll now measure out 8.5 inches and add extra half of an inch. Altogether I have 9 inches right there. Then I'm just going to roll a straight line. So that straight line is just going to be my guide, because this fabric was not straight at that end, okay? So from there, now I went up by 2 inches. So this particular collar is going to be 1 inch high. So these 2 inches I have right here is because I'm using half of an inch at the both sides to stitch. So from that top part, I'm just going to go in by half of an inch just at that top part, so that I can get a curve right there. You can see I'm curving this, I'm blending this back straight into my actual collar. So that is how yours should be as well. Then I'll go on ahead now to cut this out. So I'll be having two pieces of this collar, okay? Two pieces. So I've also gone ahead to also do the same thing right here. So in total now I have two collar, and that is what you two should have as well. So when I've done this now, I'll simply go on ahead to get my dress and start fixing my collar. So remember that we actually left added extra half of an inch on the collar. So if you are pinning this to your neckline, you are going to put this into consideration. Now the right sides of this my collar facing the right sides of my neckline on the straight part, not on the curved part. I'm actually going to be pinning my collar to my neckline, making sure that that half of an inch extra I added is still maintained, because that is what I'll be using to join it with the other side of my collar. So please, if what I'm explaining right here is not so clear, everything I'm doing right here, I believe is 100% clear, right? So on the straight part of the collar, right side of your collar facing your neckline, go on ahead and stitch using just half of an inch. So you can actually decide to add any interfacing to your collar. I ironed an stay to mine. Then that is basically it. I'm now going to go on ahead to fix my zipper. So you can also see that that half of an inch on my collar is like away from that actual point where my zipper allowance is starting, you can see. So I'll just measure out my zipper allowance. So initially, we all know that while drafting, the zipper allowance I had here was 1 inch, but because we've already stitched our fabric and our lining together on that part using quarter of an inch, because of this, I will not be stitching my zip using 1 inch any longer. It's going to be a quarter of an inch, because quarter of an inch has been used already to stitch the fabric and the lining piece together. So I'm just going to be placing my zip as I'm marking 3/4 of an inch, and I'll go on ahead and be pinning this. So whenever I'm fixing my zipper, I always make sure I pin this, okay? So I pin this to the very end. I also do the same thing for the other side and stitch the base of my zipper. So this is what I have after stitching my zip, and you can see what it looks like right here. So I'm just going to open this up so you all can see what I have here so far. So now I'm just going to be cutting off this excess at the top parts of this my zipper. I'll just be cutting it off at both sides. So after that, now I'll simply go on ahead now to fix the second part of this collar. As you can see, I also ironed my stay to it. So now, right sides of this my two collars facing each other, at that cuff part for the second collar will be at the top part, will be facing up, okay? Then I'm now pinning this at the top part. So you see the essence of adding extra 1 inch to this collar for our stitching allowance. So at that top part now, I'm pinning this second collar to my first collar, right sides facing each other, and it's the curved part. Remember that the straight part of the collar should always be at the base, all right? So after pinning this now, I'll simply go on ahead to stitch. So ensure that from the base of your collar you leave at least half of an inch. Then from there now I will start stitching using half of an inch all the way around, following the shape of this my collar. So by the time we now stitch down these two collar together using half of an inch, all will be left as the height of this collar is going to be 1.5 inches. So you can see that is why it's necessary to actually add your stitching or sewing allowance of 1 inch extra to your collar. So this is it now. I've stitched all the way to the other side. Ensure that you have half inch at least from the base of your collar upwards, so that can easily fold in the remnant when you are about to stitch this properly. Just continue watching. So you can also decide to trim the top part of your collar slightly. Don't trim it so much, okay? So you can see that I've gone ahead to do that. Now I'm going to be flipping this collar to the right side. Sure, you can see. So because I initially forgot to leave the half of an inch space from the base of this my second collar, I had to go on ahead to lose about half of an inch from the base. So that is why it's very important for you all to leave half an inch from the base, so that you can easily fold this in to cover up this remaining rough parts of the collar, okay? So you can see I'm arranging this very well, and I was trying to fold it in and realized that I didn't leave that half of an inch. I've brought my razor now, and I'm losing at least half of an inch is perfectly fine, so that after stitching with half of an inch at the top part and the base, at the end of the day I'll be having that exact 1 inch as the height of my collar. So you can see that is basically it, and I'll go in ahead to fold this inside this way. So guys, just go on ahead and continue folding this, the second collar, ensuring that you fold this in to have this neat finishing, okay, at the base of your neckline. So I'll continue doing this way, and I'll continue pinning as well. So if you actually have an iron, you can go on ahead at this moment to iron this as you are folding this before going ahead to pin. Okay, so I'm just showing you all this, but behind the camera now I'm going to be ironing this. Of course you should have an iron as a tailor, right? So I'm just showing you all what I'm doing right here. So as you're pinning, as you are folding this in, go on ahead to iron, then you pin, and then go on ahead to stitch very close to the ends. Okay, so I fixed this and I've stitched this as well. You can see what I have so far. So now I'll be zipping up this gown so you can see what I have. So there was something that happened right here, right? This my zipper I bought is very good, but it was like very stiff to zip up. So if you've ever encountered this, or you're yet to encounter this, please don't condemn the zip. Just have to put your machine oil on the zipper, just all straight on your zipper like that, and it will come out perfectly okay. So that is it now, and we are done with the collar and the fixing of the zipper. The next thing is to join the sides of this gown. I'll be flipping this now to the right side this way, because I've already stitched my pocket, which is something I've always done right here on my channel. Please kindly check out my other tutorials in case you don't know how to do this, and you'll be grateful for that. So now right side of my two gown facing each other, I'm now going ahead to pin the sides. So after pinning the sides, I'll make sure that they align properly. Then I'll simply go on ahead to start marking my sewing allowance. So remember that while joining this fabric and aligning piece, I used quarter of an inch. So because of this quarter of an inch that was used, I will not be marking 1.5 inches, which is my actual stitching allowance. Now I'm marking 1 inch and quarter, because the quarter was used in stitching our fabric and lining piece together. So I'll mark this. When I get to this pocket, I'll stitch like this all around with half of an inch. I'll come up to this other side, then I'll continue marking 1 inch and quarter. So from the armhole of this my gown, I came down by just 1 inch, so that when I'm fixing my sleeve, it's going to be easier for me. So I'm going to be stitching just the way I'm directing right here, or showing you all using my fingers. So that's basically it. The next thing is to work on the sleeve. So like I said earlier, my fabric wasn't so enough for the long puff sleeve. I opted for the short puff sleeve. So if you actually want to use this exact method, it is perfectly okay, but ensure that if you want to achieve a puff sleeve, it shouldn't be anything less than um at least 28 inches long at that top part I just showed you all right now. Okay, so it should be 28 inches long at that point. Then for the length of your sleeve, you can decide to make it short or long. So I measured mine was around 21 inches, which is not so good because I'm not going to be having the puff effect. Most times I use 1 yard of fabric for one puff sleeve, like for one hand. So that's basically how full you want your balloon sleeve to be. So at the base of this my sleeve, I'm going ahead now to fold this to create a channel for my elastic to pass through, and at the top part I'll be running a gather stitch. So this is all I have right now. After joining the sides of this my dress, I'll flip it to the right side. You can see how nice this is looking so far. So the next thing I'm basically going ahead to do now will be to fix my sleeve to the shoulder part or the armhole of this my gown. So I measured out the length of my gown to ensure that it still corresponds, and altogether I have 38 inches. You can see how neat the base is looking and how properly aligned it is. So that was the essence of making my lining 1.5 inches shorter than my fabric, because this was the effect I was trying to achieve at the base. So this is my sleeve again, and at that top part, like I said earlier, I ran a gather stitch. But you all know that this my sleeve is very small, and there's definitely no way this is going to give me the puff effect I want on the armhole. I just illustrated this here for you guys. At the end of the day, I ended up losing the gather stitch I have right there. But please ensure that yours is gathered, okay? Then also notch the middle of your sleeve so that you can pin it at the joints you have on the shoulder, because that is the center. Okay, the joints you have on the shoulder with the front and the back down, so pin it together. Then you get the ends, or the ends of your armhole. Yeah, you also pin it together, right sides facing each other with your sleeve. Then you go on ahead to gather those excess you will have on your sleeve on your armhole. Okay, so when you go ahead to do that, stitch it all around. Then for the base, I'll just be passing through my elastic through this channel I have created right here, as you can see. So you can see what I have done here, and I'll go ahead and secure this part. So that's basically it. Then I will now go on ahead to adjust this other side. So I'm going to be stretching this. I'm going to be making sure that this doesn't seem so tight. Then I'll also secure it as well, cut this excess, and now stitch, like double stitch the both sides. I have my elastic. So I'm done stitching for one part of my sleeve. As you can see on the armhole is not gathered, because I already made mention of my fabric not being enough, right? And that is why mine is also short. I think this my sleeve was 14 inches long, right? So we are done securing that. You flip this like this to the wrong side and stitch from the ends of your armhole into the body part. So when I was done, you can see what I have right here. This is so beautiful. I'm honestly speaking, this is so beautiful. I really loved it. I really loved it so much. I really love this dress. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please, I would love you to recreate yours and also send to me on IG so that I can post it back right here on YouTube and tag you as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time on the same channel. Have a lovely time ahead of